Well, I can't even believe that I got you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Me too.
Because literally, you said the last time that we saw each other, we were doing. Last time you remember, we were doing shrooms.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's what I remember.
That's
Now, there's plenty of, I'm sure, memories
Times
between that.
between them. That was a good. I mean, honestly, I forgot that completely.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't forget that event, but I forgot that somehow I forgot the people there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess because it's a solo experience, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it was that was dope.
Yeah, it was.
Microdosing.
Yeah.
Anyways, without further ado, I just What's up, everyone? This is Big Talk with Christian Henley, and today I am with
Lisa Ermel.
Lisa Ermel. You guys, you have no idea what you're in for today. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm in for today.
Me neither.
To be honest, just like a small little thing. I want you guys to know that these conversations are not predetermined. Lisa has no idea what we're going to talk about. Christian has no idea what we're going to talk about. I just ask people to come down and we talk. So, anyway. Lisa, I asked people this tough question. Would you mind just introducing yourself?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So my name's Lisa. I am from Toronto, and actually people from Toronto should say Toronto. So clearly I haven't been there in a while. Grew up in Wisconsin, lived in Indiana for a long time, and then came out to Los Angeles for MFA and acting program where I met you.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
We met at that program. And you were a year underneath me, correct? Or was it 2 years?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Again, my memory does not serve me, and that's
That's
unfortunate.
okay.
That's unfortunate. But I do, listen, Lisa, what I do remember, though, is that oh my God, your talent is extraordinary. You have such a voice. Like, you could sing, too, on top of just being, like, grounded in acting.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, you're very, very welcome. Very true. So, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, Toronto.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it if you're Canadian?
Uh-huh.
You lived there until how old?
5.
5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you moved
Wisconsin. Yeah. Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Kenosha.
Which became unfortunately popular this past year. Was it? Oh shoot, the police brutality.
Oh yes.
Police. Oh, was it? What was that,
Well,
his name? I'm so sorry.
Listen, there's a lot for Kenosha, and to be honest with you, I don't tend to I can't deep dive into all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kenosha, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in between Milwaukee and Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you lived there until how old?
I was there until 17, until college.
Oh, is it the guy, Kenosha, Wisconsin? It's the kid that was in the car and he had the air softener, and they pulled him over and then they shot him.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name is Dante Wright.
Is that it? Okay.
I think. We're gonna look this up right now so that we're not those people.
Yeah, there's far too many. Yeah, we're not those.
But how do you spell Kenosha?
Kenosha.
Oh, Kenosha.
I think it was also made popular in the Home Alone movie.
Oh, is that the one with the kid? No, he's in New York, right? Or he went to New York. Where did he come from?
They were like on a van full of polka band, like
Jacob Blake.
Oh, Jacob Blake.
Jacob
there
Blake.
We go.
There
we
it
go.
is. Everybody, Kenosha,
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
yeah,
Jacob Blake.
Yeah.
And so how long did you live in Kenosha?
So I was there throughout most of my childhood, and moved to Indiana for undergrad.
Okay.
For school. Went to a private Christian school.
Okay.
Because at the time, my parents were very strongly nudging me to kind of become like a Christian pop star. So I'm not kidding you. I wrote music. I wrote a lot of like Christian songs and sang in church a lot. And the school that I went to had a really strong music business program.
Okay.
So that's why I went there.
Okay, because you were on track to be a Christian pop star.
That was it.
Are you still deeply Christian?
No.
No.
I am finding spirituality again.
You're
though.
finding spirituality again.
Yeah.
So would you say that you walked away from spirituality altogether when you walked away from Christianity?
Yes, because to my understanding, the two were not different.
Okay.
To my understanding, you couldn't have one without the other because, of course, I was only all I knew was what I was taught and how I was raised, which is the beauty of leaving home
Right.
Because then you can all of a sudden start asking questions.
Yeah.
So,
And once you did that, once you left home to go to undergrad,
yeah.
that's when you start asking questions.
Yeah, actually, ironically, it was in a Bible class because we were required. I don't know. I just got really nervous all of a sudden. Like it just flooded
came.
my body. I was like, "Oh shit, we're starting to really talk about stuff now." So the class, we were required to go to chapels. We were required to have a bunch of Bible classes under our belt, and I actually was on chapel probation for most of the time I was in school because I wouldn't go.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I shouldn't have to be here. And it's funny because I was at the same time leading worship sometimes for this. It was this weird, like, fulfilling obligation, also kind of putting on that facade that I got really good at putting on. Really, I mean, as a child, just like putting on everything's fine, everything's good. It's kind of like white suburbia. It's this really harmful white suburbia thing where it's like everything's fine, and pushing everything under the rug, Anyway,
Yikes.
I'm going on.
Yikes.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll table it. But,
we'll table it. But I was in biblical interpretations class, and the teacher he was talking about how the initial definition for virgin was young maiden.
Young maiden.
So the actual original, was it Arabic? I apologize if I'm forgetting what the original Bible was written, the language. Hebrew,
I think maybe Hebrew.
Man.
But I don't know.
Clearly I've been out of the church for a while.
Yeah. Or maybe Arabic.
Maybe?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I think they say Hebrew, like the Torah.
Yeah, the Torah is
probably in Hebrew.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that.
Okay.
We need some fact checkers.
We'll get. You know what? Do you have like podcast notes?
Yeah.
We'll put in all misinformation
in the podcast. Right, in the podcast notes.
It's gonna be
But this is your experience, so your experience is your experience, and it's true.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, well, that's great. That's a good reminder. We are the experts of our own experience.
Exactly.
Okay, so anyway, the original word, whatever the word was, for that became translated into virgin was just a young maiden. So he was positing the question of, what is true, what isn't true, how much of this was man-made. I mean, all of it.
Right.
But yeah, that was the most fascinating class because we went through the different interpretations of the Bible to English. And language, is so powerful. I mean, there's a very big difference between young maiden and virgin.
Right. Right. And young maiden, excuse my ignorance, that just means young woman.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a young unmarried woman. As far as I'm aware. So yeah, I just remember sitting there. I was like in the back of the class, of course, and I just remember like looking at everyone, and no one was flinching. Like no one was like, "Oh my God!" Like I mean, I was having a mind-blowing experience back there. Like I was like, "This means what else is?" Been interpreted
incorrectly.
Exactly.
Right.
What else has been misinterpreted? Oh my God, I need to learn Hebrew, or whatever it is. Like I need to know the answers.
I went down such a similar path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue.
Oh, that's so interesting. No,
yeah.
I really am curious about what your experience was, because that was the first time that I was like, wait, why do I believe what I believe? It's because I was told it, and it's not that I think Christianity is wrong or bad or. I mean, I did spend a lot of time very bitter towards the religion, which I've worked through because, man, we all need something. I think,
Yeah.
we all need something. So yeah, it's not that I think that it's all a fraud. I just think that there's far more gray area than the religion allows.
Right. And the aspect of it to me, first of all, thank you, but the aspect of it for me was that it didn't allow you to question. It says that if you were to go investigate, you don't need anything else. And like you were saying, you were back there having mind-blowing, like, whoa, and question, and other people were just like accepting it and not really challenging their own. And that, I had this significant other in high school. Her father was a pastor and her whole family was in the church, and she would just regurgitate exactly what was given to her. And I was not that person. I challenged anything that came to me.
Yeah.
it has to come up. If I have a body of information and you're introducing new information, I have to first challenge it with the information I have, and then literally I will stretch. But I will always take what you're giving me and run it up against what I already have. Always. I will never just be like, no, because it's not what I have, or blindly accept.
Yeah.
I can't do that. But people do that. A lot of people do that, and it's particularly with religion. And that, for me, I mean, I joined this, what people would call a Christian cult in college.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I did. And we had to spend every day together. If you did anything outside of that group, where were you, brother? What did you do? You need to be with the body. And I was all in it. I was, But then after a while, I wanted to go on dates with women, and they would have another person accompany you on the date, and they would call them encouragement dates, and you couldn't go off alone, and we're adults. And that's when I was like, man, this is crazy.
This was my college too. Yeah, this is crazy.
And I was like, but I did feel like if anyone was doing the Bible correctly, it feels like it's this group, because that is what the Bible is saying, I guess, right? I mean, I don't know. So that was my experience. And I say today, when people ask me, are you a Christian? Outside of my name being Christian, quite literally, I say I'm either all religions or I'm no religion, however you choose to. But I was always able to separate my spirituality from my religion. But at that time, you were not able to do that because they were one and the same.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I didn't know we had this in common. I am thrilled right now because,
yeah.
and I have a question for you. I'm just saying this out loud so that I can come back to it. To answer your question, I couldn't separate the two because I didn't understand it as an actual personal relationship with myself or with a bigger thing. And I think my experience was very tainted by control, and especially, at least, growing up as a girl at the time, I think that there was just like a lot of religion is about control, I feel like, and power. And I felt more shame connected to religion, which is not a spiritual path, which is not, where at least it blocks any availability for any kind of spirituality. It was a lot of shame and, the Worth the Wait. Do you know what that is?
Worth the Wait?
Yeah, it was a program to wait to have sex until marriage.
Right.
But there were rings called a promise ring.
The promise ring.
Yeah, you know. So and I had one of those, but it felt like, I was told that my body, myself, my identity was belonging to my future husband. So there was, I'm just sharing examples as to why it was hard for me to see the spiritual side of Christianity, because it was just more obligation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so you just, first of all, you gave a lot. There, in a different way, obviously, because at the time, and I imagine we're going to get into this a little bit later, you said girl at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you no longer identify with girl.
No.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second, if you don't
Cool.
mind.
Yeah.
But I say that to say my experience being differently because I am a male. And for me, it was Christianity always made God separate than me. Like God was something outside of me. God was either in this, man in the sky, or this thing I had to pray to, be obedient to. And I learned that was more of a Western way of approaching spirituality and religion, which often conflates the two, where in Eastern cultures, when I learned that certain religions or spiritualities allowed for God to be within me, or me be a part of God, that changed everything for me. When I learned that, and I think maybe undergrad or even maybe a little bit before, and it was just like, whoa, wait, okay, Christianity takes God outside of me, and I'm separated from God from original sin, right?
Right.
Once that happens, I'm born into sin, and sin it separates us from God. So I'm in birth, I'm separate, and my whole life is to get back there. But I always fall short.
Right.
Is what they teach.
Yeah.
And it's like you were saying, how is that tied to your spirituality and your spiritual growth, given that it's directly linked to shame?
Yeah.
whereas other religions did not have that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been my spiritual practice ever since. And so once you departed from Christianity, what was your life like then?
Oh, it was messy. It was very messy because my whole purpose, my whole identity was very much surrounding that.
Because you were going to be a Christian pop singer.
Exactly. And actually the last church service, aside from like a funeral or a wedding, the last church service that I went to was a Unitarian Universalist church. Have you heard of this?
Was that where like all the religions come together?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's basically, I mean, anything from atheist to Satanist. Like it is.
Wow.
I know. It's amazing, actually. I think if I were to ever go to a church again, it would be there for the sake of learning and for the sake of community.
Wow.
But it was really, really cool. Like I just remember it was like the sermon was surrounding some kind of, I think it was a Jewish rabbi, and then the songs were Christian, but then there was also some readings from like
the Satanic Bible?
No. I would love to.
That would be cool. I would
talk about big talk. I'm just gonna throw everything.
Wait, is that?
Oh God. Anyway, so I went to this church, and I just remember just being like, whoa. But the idea of being in a church was so attached to my old understanding of it that I couldn't at the time see it in a new way. And but what had happened?
Oh, what happened?
When I left the church, that would have been a very confusing time. I remember a lot of chaos. I remember a lot of drinking. I remember a lot of. I think that's when my tendency towards any codependent behaviors or beliefs started there, because again, being raised with this idea that I'm someone else's was, I didn't have any sense of identity, and so it was just like, I didn't know how to pay bills. I was overdrawing on my bank account all the time, which come to find out, I was just diagnosed with ADHD, which was like, what? What?
You didn't see that coming?
No idea.
Okay.
Until I'm 33 years old.
Right.
I had a psychiatrist be like,
how did you miss this?
Maybe we should, like crazy, right? Well, there was that, I think that was maybe when it started. I just had no grounding. I had nothing to hold on to. So I was just holding on to, men, women, drinks, like
anything
theater, actually.
Okay.
I mean, theater. I would say my first professional acting job was around that time.
Had you been interested and had done theater prior to, or this was when you found theater?
No, I had actually done theater since I was 8.
Okay.
I was in my elementary school, did a production of Cinderella that was called Computerella, and it was like a computer nerd version of the story. And I played Computerella when she was the nerd, and then they had someone else play the Computerella after she became a princess.
That's sad. I'm sorry.
Terrible. But I had like glasses like this. I had like really hairy legs already, and like
so
I was super nerdy.
You had the part.
Yeah. I booked it. But yeah, so since then was when I caught the bug, and I did community theater. I mean, I did so much theater actually growing up. But my parents, again, had a very strong opinion, on my life path, and were very uncomfortable with me going into the life as an actor.
Okay, and that's so running concurrent to that is when you were taking your departure from Christianity. What was your relationship to your parents at that time? Did they know?
Ooh, my parents separated when I was away for college, which I'm sure had a big, contribution to my, again, more things to question. What is marriage? What is, sanctity of anything? But it was the right thing to have happened.
Yeah.
Even at the time, there was no like, how could this happen? It was like, they need to split. They need to split. And I was also going through my own departure, my own divorce from my parents, in that like I grew up in a very troubled home. And so I was like realizing that as I was gone, like, oh wait, that's not how everyone else's parents acted, or like that wasn't, So I remember that when I told them, I was a year into school, hated my music business classes, I didn't want to write music anymore. Again, why would I? Because it wasn't for me. It was
Right.
like,
For God.
for God or for whatever. I didn't know what my voice was at all. And so I did a play in school and I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to change my major and I'm going to do this. And I remember telling my parents, and I remember being told that I was like financially on my own. Like, they were like, we won't support you.
Because you weren't Christian.
Well, because that, and because
you wanted to do theater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was I did not have their support. And they have since then apologized for this. And, we've mended quite a bit. But, yeah, they were like, good luck, I guess. And then I got a nose piercing. And I was like, fuck everybody. Like, and then I worked at Starbucks. Like, I was like, I'm going to support myself. I was like at Starbucks.
How old were you at this?
Oh God. When I switched majors, I was only like 19 maybe, but I started working at Starbucks, like opening shift, which if anyone who knows, that's like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. or whatever, opening shift, go to classes, go to rehearsal, didn't do my homework because I was like, so I did not have a great GPA for sure, but I'm going on a total.
No, you're fine. And I'm curious.
Tangent.
Did your parents know that? Because you said that you threw yourself at anyone, men or anything, men, women, drinks, alcohol. Did your parents know that you were also interested in women?
No.
No.
I don't think I realized that I was interested with women. I thought that it was just a phase.
You're just doing things.
Exactly.
And you were like, I don't even really like this. I'm just doing this because it's like
whatever.
nothing matters.
a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
But just to cap that, I had my first professional job at Summer Theater, and that was like the beginning of finding who I was. Honestly, like spent 3 months locked in close quarters with 30 other people, and yeah.
So offline, you told me that you grew up in Trumpland.
Yeah.
Area again? I forgot.
Kenosha.
Kenosha. Is that Kenosha, Wisconsin?
I mean, honestly, I am not there anymore. But yeah, it's definitely.
That's what you meant when you said.
Yeah,
that?
that's what I meant. Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, back then it wasn't Trumpland, of course.
Right. But these are people that you would imagine would eventually become Trump.
Yes. I have family. That voted for Trump, that actually voted for Obama and then voted for Trump.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Let me just say this again because I just hit the mic with my fingers.
Yeah.
I have family who voted for Obama and then voted for Trump.
Yes. And that's something, watching CNN, you heard that there were pockets of people who did do that.
Yeah.
And they were saying, and I'm curious to know, did you talk to these family members as to what their rationale was for doing so? Because what we hear is that these are just people thirsty for anything that is anti-establishment. So Obama represented anti-establishment at the time because him being like an African-American, and then Trump just being who he is. And so they're looking for something different than the status quo.
Yeah.
Were you able to have those conversations with your family members to see if that was kind of their rationale behind that?
I tried.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't do it. And I understand that, change happens relationally and with these conversations, but it wasn't until recently that I've been able to even learn how to meditationally, if that's a word, to breathe through difficult conversations. So at the time, it was just a little too triggering for me, which, it's fine. I don't know why I'm like trying to make excuses for why I wasn't able to have difficult conversations, but I am. So yeah, I tried having. What did I learn? That there was a.
No, I'm not. I guess I'm not. I'm sorry. Continuing what you learned,
no.
but I'm not trying to figure out what you learned.
Oh, okay.
I was just yes. If you've learned some things, share them with me. Yes, but I don't want you to be over there racking your mind, like challenging yourself, because more so my question was, were you able to have that conversation with them?
I see. Yeah.
And if so, if you were, was anything highlighted?
Okay.
If not, I've got more questions.
Okay. I would say what was highlighted. I mean, honestly, all I remember was I remember just feeling so much anger, and frustration that there was this it's fear. It was all fear.
Fear of what?
I will say that fear of, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Fear? You mean fear on their part?
On their part.
As to why they voted for Trump?
Exactly.
Losing their country?
So I
You don't know. Yeah, you can't get in there.
I can't. Well, if I go back to who I used to be when I lived there, I just know that there's only one truth. That's, well, at least what I was raised with. One truth. That's God, the truth of the Bible, truth of Christianity. And I do feel like now I can get in there. I can get in there because I can like remember who I was back then. And it was just someone who was very, there's like a, and of course this is again, white suburbia, this sense of entitlement, this sense of needing to control everybody, which Trump like, is very, well, I don't know.
So let me ask you something.
Did you just, yeah.
I do hear what you're saying, and that makes me think of something because there's this whole phenom about Karens, and Karens have this incessant need to control everyone and police people.
Yes.
And so and so is a place like Kenosha, Wisconsin, are they birthing these Karens?
The birth of a Karen.
The birth of a and is it given that you come from this place.
Yeah.
I don't know you to be a Karen.
No, good. Thank you. That's really good to know.
But perhaps you have cousins, aunts, friends who are Karens or Karens to be.
Yeah.
Because of this, this desire, this need, or this, like you say, sense of entitlement that is being birthed. That I need to control other things.
Yeah.
Does it come from a place of like, because my life is out of control and I don't get to control that because the control in my life, I've given it up to God?
Ooh. I mean, yes, for sure. And I also think yes, to piggyback on that, like, I believe it's like this perfect storm of privilege and also not being allowed to explore your own identity. I think that these Karens have been raised to, it is just the path, at least in my understanding, the path of a Karen is born into white privilege, then, benefiting from that, but then at the same time, not being able to pursue your own dreams, even learn what you love. It's kind of, you're just told, I'm going to become a wife. I'm going to become a mother. All beautiful things. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, it's
the lack of choice.
Yeah. Yes. It's this lack of choice mixed with this privilege that is like, I think.
Wow. Birthing the perfect storm of a Karen.
Yes.
Yeah. because that was this is the truth. That was the thing that I'm like, why? Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
And why do they have this incessant need? I read something one time that was interesting, and it talks about the kind of somewhat the psychology of a Karen, but really more so white people in mass. Now, obviously not all of them, but in mass. There is, as a holdover from slavery and Jim Crow and all the repressive laws and social structures since, that white folks still have within them this need to police. They think they can police black people. And so that's why we have also this phenom of Karens who see black folks doing this and they feel like they have the right to police their behaviors. On top of what we're talking about right now, where you have these women who don't get to have agency in their own lives, but yet are told that they have privilege, or that they feel entitled,
or they at least experience that privilege completely subconsciously. Like, most of the white family members that I know that voted for Trump / could be in a category of Karen is oh shit, I just lost my point. What did you just say?
Oh, so I was saying that two things are happening at one time to create the psychology of a Karen.
Yeah.
Is that white folks in general have this holdover from, to re-jog your memory, of I get to police black people's behaviors, and also these women who don't have agency in their own lives, but yet grow up with this subconscious entitlement.
Yes.
And that perhaps is like creating this thing that I get to.
Yes, I think, yes. Thank you for going over all that for me again. I think it's again, coming back to control, it's just and it's fear. The need for control comes from fear. And how do you not be afraid if you know who you are and if you're confident in yourself and if you have that structure, then you know you're safe. But if you don't have that, then you're just like lashing out at whatever you can to gain control, I think.
Wow.
Which is not excusing it, but I think that could be.
But that could be a purview into the psychology of a Karen.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say I'm glad I'm not a Karen, but I have definitely been a Karen. I think I think that no white woman is exempt, or even a white person. I think that we've all been there, and we've been that person. I will even say that in a previous relationship, which was interracial, which you know him, I remember I was I've always been very politically active. Ever since I lived in Indiana and Mike Pence was my governor. I was like at the courthouse, you know, LGBT activist, like all that. So it's been a very prominent thing in my life. But I remember him saying to me, "You're so focused on justice for everyone and that we need to listen to everyone or whatever, but you're not listening to me." And I remember being like, no, yes, I am. You know, like immediately. Wow. It was just this like, I know. Wow. But that was, that is always in my mind. I don't mean to like, I'm truly not trying to fluff myself. Isn't that like, that a porn term? Yeah,
that is a porn term. Wow.
I'm not trying to like say like, and now I am better. I am, you know.
Absolve yourself.
I have been absolved. No. I'm just saying that was a huge learning experience for me. Because that was a way I was a Karen in like the relationship, or maybe I don't think I was doing it in public, but you know, our wounds come out in relationship, right?
Right.
And I just remember that's when I just go back to that often of how do I practice this person to person. And I am very thankful for that mirror to have been held up to me, you know, because that was the first time that anyone ever said that to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful. I am curious to the point in which you are comfortable. Could you excavate that a bit?
Oh.
What do you mean?
Which part?
So generally speaking, I understand how you could be an advocate, everyone's voice matters publicly, but in your personal interracial relationship, you're still missing the mark in a way. What ways were you missing the mark? What does that look like? Because there are a lot of people, myself included, in interracial relationships where we know the person has a good heart, obviously sees me as someone worthy of being loved, but yet still holds Karen-like tendencies with me.
Yeah.
What was that for you specifically, if you don't?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it certainly meant my feelings matter more in some ways. You know, I think that there was less space for him in that way, which of course, you know, psychology, it's like so complex. There's so many things that make a person, but I do think that was potentially a big thing in terms of how I was Karening.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Do you think that had anything to do with racially thing, or just you being you, or you being a woman at the time?
Well, no, I mean, I very much, I do identify still with being a woman. I feel like we're being so like
all over the place, but we're going to get there.
No, we will. No, I just want to say that like I think yes, I mean, it had a ton to do with my childhood. My childhood abuse. I live with developmental trauma, which I would love to flesh out at some point, just because I think it's like so many of us live with developmental trauma, and we just don't know. But as a survivor of childhood abuse, of sexual assault, I mean, of course, I think that had a huge thing to do with it as well. Which also, again, if we're talking about the Karen thing, I think it's 1 in every 3 women are sexually assaulted, like have literally been. I don't know. Again, check the podcast notes. But it's like a huge number, and that's just what's reported. So I think Karen's again, living with that. Not, I also don't want to. I have this voice that's like. all of a sudden telling me like, be careful what you say, or like, my perfectionist voice is
To
like,
be right or to make sure that you don't say anything that
to be
offends.
right, to not say anything that offends, to not, which is something that I've been made very aware of. Like that's not helpful. Perfectionism is the enemy of progress, right? But I just I just want to speak to that because that's what's happening. And I'm noticing it like kind of close me up. And
That's okay. That's beautiful. That's
is it?
no. You know what's beautiful about it is that you're saying, I hear you.
Yeah.
You're there. I'm
Yeah.
gonna call attention to it because to do that, to acknowledge it, is to strip it of its power.
That's so true.
To say, I see you.
Yeah, it's just that's like I think that was a big. I wish that I could say more at the moment, but there's a lot coming up for me right now.
Thank you very much for your transparency.
You're welcome.
I really do appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Switching gears a bit, you wanted to talk about, first of all, I was going to say this offline, but didn't get there. Whenever you start to feel this way, because I know that people would feel this way because we're talking about bigger things, you can ask me questions.
Okay.
Throw it at me.
So anyway, Christian.
Or if there's anything that comes up for you, because it is, again, a conversation, and I know, but I love asking people questions.
Yeah.
So if you don't jump in there, I'm going to go. You spoke about developmental traumas.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Okay, so for everyone listening, I just recently became a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, and I know, and I just received my training and my certification to be trauma informed, which means a lot of things. Honestly, I am studying to work at least one-on-one. My one-on-one work with people, I want it to be trauma informed, and I want to work with previously incarcerated and abuse survivors and LGBTQ. Like, I just really and activists. Like, I feel like activists are like the most wounded. That's why
they're activists.
They're activists, like, because it's just coming out. That's like the healthy anger, right? Like we see anger as such a bad thing, but it's not. It's actually what fuels change. And anyway, I'm just saying, like, so that's where my head has been at. I've been doing a ton of studying on trauma and how it's held in the body, and developmental trauma, which I'm learning is trauma that happens at such a young age that it is your identity.
Wow.
that is that. And I know that when we were at USC, we learned, my experience, I don't mean to speak for you, my apologies, but I remember just learning so much about what's held in my body trauma-wise. And Andy Robertson just like, what's your story? What's your story? What's your story? What's your story? And I remember actually, callback weekend, I was like, I am not ready for this. Like, I remember like being like, this is my dream. Like, after that program, it was this weird, like, I love how uncomfortable I felt. But yeah, I think that I could potentially say that people who went to that program or any acting training, where am I going with this? It's just this like very visceral thing. Anyway,
you're lost.
Developmental trauma.
Yeah. Is this the ADD?
It is.
This is the ADD.
I love having something to blame it on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you take medicine for that, by the way?
I don't yet.
Okay.
Well, I'm on Medi-Cal, and the accessible healthcare is so important and so beautiful and wonderful. But then there's also a downside of waiting periods.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm waiting.
But to help you out, since
thank you.
To help you out,
developmental trauma.
Developmental trauma, and you were
Okay.
talking about how trauma lives in the body,
Yes.
ways in which trauma lives in the body,
Yes.
and it being happening so early in your life that it is literally who you are.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So it's this completely subconscious thing that like our muscles remember and our bones remember. So we tend to think of everything being a potential danger. So there's this tension, there's this, this might sound like a tangent, but it isn't. So, okay, let's say we have a herd of antelope.
Heard of cantaloupe?
A herd of cantaloupe. No, let's say there's a herd of antelope in the wild, right? And then a lions come to attack them. And let's say one gets wounded. Antelope will freeze to like try to trick the lion. And then like, let's say the lion leaves, the antelope will always full body shake itself off. So that full body shake itself off is the release of
that trauma.
But as humans, because I think of our society,
We don't have any space to shake ourselves
no,
off.
no, there's no space to shake ourselves off. It's push it down, keep going, or that's just the way to,
Wow.
At such a young age, it just our brain has hardly began forming thoughts, ideas, identity, self, whatever. That there is no distinction, there's no difference between self and that experience.
It doesn't know that.
Making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. The brain doesn't know yet that it is separate than that experience.
Right.
It's not that it's an experience that it encountered, as opposed to this is literally a part of our development.
Exactly. And then the result of developmental trauma is a life of failed relationships, substance abuse, and not to go there, but like murder, like that. I mean, that's truly
Wow.
like, no, but because
Yeah.
you're just constantly looking for that release. I think there's a lot of rage that is just, it's just a part of you. So you don't understand that it's hurting other people.
Wow.
And then there's a lot of breakups. And I'm just talking about my life, like
Yeah.
tons of breakups, tons of the, because
Yeah, yeah.
it's just this inability.
And
to
how does one work
separate
through
from
this?
it. Yeah, well, yoga is great.
Really?
No, actually, yeah. That's my big. Oh God. So I started.
How is yoga
Yeah.
good for this?
Yeah. Okay. So I found myself on my mat like 3 hours a night when I first. So I have been in alcohol abuse recovery for 2.5 years, and I as soon as like 5 o'clock came, it's so cliche, but as soon as 5 o'clock came, I was like, what do I do? Like, oh my God, so I would just like get on my mat and I would just stretch and stretch and stretch and just like practice. And like, I didn't know why, but that was what kept me from doing anything harmful. And then as I've learned through my training, what it is trauma is actually not the thing that happened. It's the way our body stores it afterwards. I had you hear trauma, this pandemic is traumatic, and it's so true, but the trauma is the actual definition, which I can't think of off the top of my head, but it is literally the body's reaction to the event. And I was searching for that shake off. That's what a lot of people turn to drugs and a lot of, stuff to just find that shake off, to find that release, to find that, that thing. And so what yoga does is it creates that, it's a move. I mean, any movement practice, it's not just yoga, it's like going for a run or sex or, like anything that is physical, that is retraining our body, our mind to think that it's releasing. And then once that release happens, then we can trust our surroundings more, or have the ability to connect and everything. And therapy, I mean, I have been in therapy most of my life, and I've had the privilege of being able to go to therapy most of my life, right? Again, said X would call it white people shit. Like, it's just, I was able, thank goodness, to be in therapy as throughout, and I'm hoping it becomes more and more accessible. There's I think there's a website called BetterHelp. It's
Okay.
like literally like it's a chat. You can chat with therapists for reduced rates. Like, I think it's becoming more accessisil. But anyway,
No,
that's it.
that's
Therapy.
Wow, I
and
love the shake off though.
the
That's the
shake-off.
thing, because
Yeah,
hey, a lot of us have encountered, myself, early traumas that I recently, and it's so funny. I think you'd appreciate this because, it was happening in the church. But when I was graduating high school, and this woman came up to me. This is a true story. This woman came up to me in church. I never met her before, and she started a random woman. She started just prophesying over my life. But one thing that she did say that I will never ever forget, can't forget, she was like, listen, the Lord is going to tackle you, and it's going to feel like a ball in your stomach. That's what she said. It's going to feel like a ball in your stomach. And
oh my gosh.
if you don't answer the call or something like that, to that nature. And I swear to God, second year of grad school, after we did our Shakespeare play, I underwent, for what I don't know what happened, my body just like everything just locked up in my body. It was super tight, my whole body. And even my breathing was affected by it. This is a true story.
Wow.
And to this day, I'm suffering it.
Yeah.
And what it feels like, and I didn't think about this woman saying this to me until like, again, that was second year for me, would have been 2015. So I've been experiencing this in my body completely different.
Yeah.
Like a night and day. It wasn't like this happened gradually. It was like, like next week I feel way different than I did last week. And now I'm feeling this way since 2015. So it's at 6 years. And it wasn't until recently that I realized I feel like, and it looks like I have a ball in my stomach. That's what I swear to you. And I'm pretty confident it is undealt with trauma.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident.
No, I'm not a doctor, but
you know,
I'm like 99.5%.
You know, it's because
Christian,
it's unique. It's not like this isn't just like beer and hamburgers. Because I worked out. Listen, I went through my last year of grad school. I was like, I gotta get, I want to get down, look pretty, do all the things. So I was exercising, working out. Everything else would adjust. My stomach, like ball. Like I'm like, what is this? Eating different. I went vegan.
Well, it's because you're not answering the call.
I'm not, but I don't know what the call. You know what I'm
no,
trying
but maybe
to.
this is. Oh my gosh, maybe this is the call, and maybe it's not from God, but it is from you and your inner child. Like, not to get all like.
No, please, we're here to talk about
it. For real,
like
that has. I mean, I firmly, Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but thank you for sharing that because, like, it actually survivors of childhood trauma tend to have gut issues.
Really?
Tend to have digestive issues. What I've learned, and actually we learned it from Natsuko, right? That's the solar plexus, right? That's the gut brain.
Yeah.
And we will forget how things exactly went. We'll forget the words sometimes, what people say, but we will always remember how we felt. And
when that gets stored right there.
Stored right here.
Right there in that solar plexus.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've learned at least. And
no.
Yeah.
It's like your intuition. They say gut feeling. All your solar plexus, like most like feelings, right? All these nerve endings are right here.
Yes.
At where your chest cavity and your stomach meet.
Yeah. Exactly. The diaphragm.
Exactly. The diaphragm.
Yeah.
And that is what has been aggressively affected by all of this was my diaphragm, which has made me pivot from acting because I don't feel like I can do it as well as I used to be honest. This is a true story. But whatever, it's a gift in it that I found this, the fact that I just like to talk. I like talking to people. I like connecting with people. I like excavating who you are, right? And excavating who I am. I get to share myself in these things that perhaps I wouldn't have found had this experience not happened to me. Am I trying to find a silver lining to all of this? Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's how life works.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So, well, first of all, I just need to speak to this because I understand it completely. Because Warshawski's voice is, to everyone, that's one of our teachers from grad school.
Yeah.
Warshawski, his voice is, I remember.
In your head? Are you going to say in your head?
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
All the time. But I remember we were in class and he just looked at me and he says, I don't give a shit what you feel about your work. And I remember being like, like, okay. But that is, first of all, you're probably brilliant still.
Thank you.
Probably are,
Thank you.
which you are brilliant. It isn't just about the acting, right? This is
true.
Brilliant, what you're doing. It's like, but it's so, I think you said it's like trying to find the silver lining. And man, I used to say like, thank goodness the trauma happened. But now I'm starting to realize that like, no, like it is you that has gotten yourself to the point you are at today, not because of the trauma, but in spite of it. And whatever it is that you're discovering about, where it's being held or whatever, like, again, that's on your willingness and your ability to see and be curious. And I'm sorry, I'm like, I don't know why I'm going off on this thing, but it's just like, man, no one should ever have to go through things that, and I don't know what you went through, but I'm just going off of what you shared. No one should ever go through these things. We need to create a world where this shit does not happen.
Yeah.
Systemically, personally, everything.
Right. Ideally, that's what happens.
Right. But because of these things, we've probably become way more aware.
Yeah.
And anyway, I am curious, though. What I was going to ask you is, so would you say it was in grad school that awareness started, or did you become aware of this feeling until like recently that it could be the repressed trauma?
Okay, so when did I start thinking that it could be repressed trauma?
Yes, yeah.
I thought about it like while we were in grad school.
Yeah.
It crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And if I'm being okay, so look, we're gonna be we're minute 55 in,
Oh my
right?
God!
I know.
It feels like it's been 10 minutes.
I know, right?
Okay,
These things fly.
Okay.
We're minute 55 in. This is
Okay.
a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Though. So I'm gonna typically I do about 50 minutes and then I wrap it up.
Okay.
But I'm gonna let this one go.
Okay. All right.
Until we reach a natural end.
Yeah.
So yes, in graduate school, I did question whether it was. I was working out. One thing too, I was working out very heavily my first and second year.
Yeah.
So I thought that perhaps I was working out wrong and I didn't, stretch afterwards appropriately. But I was doing yoga too. I was working out twice a day, but I was also doing yoga every single day. And so I was like, maybe not that. And then I thought that, and here we're now getting somewhere here. But this is tough for me to say, but what I questioned if it was, okay, so one thing for me growing up, I never gave myself space to investigate my sexuality. Never. In grad school though, I did.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I allowed myself to say, okay, you at least you need to check and make sure.
Yeah.
Because this whole gut thing, I was like, is it because you're trying to hide who you really are? And is that what this thing is? So I said, allow yourself the space to investigate if you are a straight man, a bisexual man, a gay man. I came out on the other end of that knowing that I'm a straight man.
Yeah.
But so in grad school, I thought perhaps I was a closeted gay man, and I was being held in my stomach.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like your pelvis area. Yeah, you're like.
I was like, perhaps it's that.
Yeah.
Perhaps. So I went through that. I went through.
Oh my gosh, that's.
I went
incredible.
through because I wanted to be, because I felt like for me, to not be able to even approach that subject, it limited me as an actor.
Yes.
So it was that I wanted to do it for that reason, and also like I wanted to get rid of this damn gut.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this a gay man in here?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't. And so then I thought about my relationships. I was like, well, is it because at the time I didn't have a relationship with my aunt? We had like who raised me as like my grandmother and my aunt raised me for a good healthy portion of my life with my uncle.
Okay.
And when my grandmother died, I never dealt with that. My older cousin died. Never dealt with that. Who was like a brother to me. He died when I was 16.
Oh, so sorry.
And then my relationship with my aunt was just done because of when my grandmother died. There was some money stuff. And then my relationship with my mother, who was at the time when I was in graduate school, was homeless. She had relapsed. I didn't have a relationship with my father. And so all these things I thought, it's probably I didn't have any healthy relationships. Going to therapy after grad school, I recognized my blueprint for relationships had been fucked up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really have a healthy one at the beginning with my mother. My father got separated from my mother when I was 3.
Okay.
And I didn't really have a relationship with my father much at all. He passed away in 2016. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All good.
Probably complicated.
So yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, this is not a woe is me opportunity right now, but I'm just saying I had to check and see if all of these things were living in my gut.
Yeah.
And my body, my entire body, but namely my body. And then that's when I started thinking, wait a second, that woman said that if I didn't answer this call, that God was going to tackle me and that it will feel like, I'm serious. It's like, it will feel like a ball in my stomach, and I feel like I have a ball in my stomach. It finally came. She told me this.
Where is this woman?
Where is this? This woman told me this when I was graduating high school.
Oh my gosh.
I guess that's 2009, 2008, 2009. It's 2016.
Oh my god.
And I'm finally like, there's the ball she was talking about.
Yeah.
Damn it, woman. What do you want me to do? So I was just going down every avenue. And so today I'm still like, how do I get rid of it?
Yeah.
And but recently, and at least maybe this conversation is serendipitous because recently, as of maybe even just yesterday, I was like, you know what? I have to in my life I don't care about I'm not as aspirational. It's just like, honestly, what do you enjoy doing? You have the luxury right now to do what you like doing, which is talking to people.
Yeah.
Just do it because you like it.
Yeah.
Don't do it because you think you can make a big, a dollar from it. If you make a dollar from it, great.
Right, of course.
But let the goal be because you like it and figure out why you like it. Because that's why you're here.
Yeah.
That's why you're on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful, Christian. That's beautiful.
Anyways, I did all that to say that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's also resonating with some. Yeah. Yeah. It resonates, man. That's and thank you. That's like, the courage to ask the question.
Yes. Because that was scary to even ask the question.
Yeah.
Because it's scary what you might find.
Yeah.
So I have to say that.
Yeah. And can I ask you a question?
Yep, of course.
I'm very curious what you were taught about what either in the African American community or in your own home, what you were taught about like sexuality, gender roles, like was it welcome to ask those questions, or is there an idea of it?
I'm gonna say for me in my home, I cannot speak to African American community as a whole.
Okay.
I will say that I would guess that it probably might be similar in majority African American households, but I don't know. I do not know.
Of course.
But in my home, so again, I was raised by predominantly women.
Mm-hmm.
I luckily had an uncle, step-in uncle, who's like a father figure for me for a portion of my early life, and it wasn't. So we would just have jokes. So like, if you were like, "Man, you acting like a F word," you know what I mean? And that was like a derogatory thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't really coming up. I didn't have gay exposure. Nobody that I knew, my friends, no uncles, no aunties, nothing like that. So I didn't have much gay exposure.
Yeah.
But then I remember very vividly when I was in the 5th grade, my mother and I were driving in the car, and she said to me, we were just something I don't know what I said or done or what our conversation was, but I remember her saying, if I ever thought you were gay, I would hire you a prostitute. And right then and there, she said, I hire you a prostitute right then and there. And
and what does that tell you? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And that is basically saying there's no space to be gay.
Right.
We're going to straighten you out.
Right.
The second. So that was that. But, and I thought it was funny and whatever. But again, I never questioned it up until in my life, until in grad school, which was a forced question. It wasn't like something I was like, ooh, I'm having thoughts or anything like that. It was like I have this gut. What's this gut about? One thing you have never questioned is your sexuality.
Yeah.
Question like, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'd say for me, it wasn't anything that it wasn't gonna. If I came home but like, hi guys, I just want to see like maybe I like John. They'd be like, shut that shit up.
Yeah.
Get that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah.
That was my experience.
Interesting. Yeah.
And gender roles. My aunt made more. I live with my aunt and my uncle, and my aunt made more money than my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't any like financial role just established like that. But he was like the quintessential man, stereotypical man in the household, big guy, and you kind of respected him and his word. But I won't say that his word was the last word. My aunt was a very fiery, didn't take no BS.
Yeah.
They ended up not working out. Maybe that's a part of it.
Hey, they all want a strong woman until they got her.
Hey, that's the truth. That's it. But so yeah. But again, talking about the gender stuff, because I know now that you have a journey, and we're already an hour and a half. And this is what I thought that we'd be talking about. But I think that our conversation was much more.
No, it's all a part of it. Yeah.
What has that journey been for you? Because right now, you identify as
genderqueer.
Genderqueer.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So, okay. Talk about asking the questions. It basically, I am in the center of the question right now.
Okay.
I know that I know I do not just identify as a woman. I have, and also my lived experience is a lot of harm because of the gender binary of, controlling women. Genderqueer is basically the umbrella term that non-binary, gender fluid, agender falls under. As far as that's my understanding.
Non-binary, excuse me, I can't speak. Non-binary,
yeah, yes,
agendered, and what was the other one? Gender
fluid.
Gender fluid.
And I know that they're all, some people use them synonymously, one and the same. But so for me, for some reason, the term non-gender or non-binary, like, I don't know why. It already has such a thing attached to it. It's become, I don't know why. For me, I still I'm working through a lot of my own prejudices. And we all were raised in a very a white cisgender heterosexual society, right? So I have been faced with, even when my bisexuality became more present and realized I had to work through a lot of my own internalized homophobia, biphobia. Biphobia would mean like, oh well, you're just really a lesbian, so it's not possible to have both, to think both. What I embrace about the non-binary genderqueer thing is, well, first of all, I do drag, or I have done drag.
Oh, really?
And I loved it. I can't tell you, I felt so comfortable. I just remember having fun. I remember feeling, man, it's just like a freedom I can't quite explain, but
you dressed up as a gendered man.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a drag king,
okay.
And my name was Ron Genders.
Ron Genders. I started a band when I was in China. I lived in China for a little bit. I started a band, and my name was Ron Bender.
No way.
Yeah, seriously.
What?
We were Ron Bender and the Benders, and I was Ron Bender.
That's funny.
But anyways, go back to this is a more fun story.
Yeah. So oh man, there's so much to say, and I'm trying to be conscious of time. For me, it is just the relentless pursuit of abandoning this or that, of abandoning yes or no, well, I don't know about that one, but abandoning black and white, abandoning this or. The word or is so separating to me and just so limiting, and I'm just constantly pursuing and, because for some reason when I'm in that and space, that feeling when we were on shrooms that night, like that's what starts coming back to me without the use of shrooms. Like I'm literally like, there's just some kind of a euphoria that comes over me. And what's scary for me, I've had like my pronouns in my bio for a while, but what's scary to me about embracing this truth of mine is that everyone, man, there's just this disbelief. There's such a lack of trust and disbelief. That's the transphobia, or the queer phobia. It's like, if you don't know, then it's probably not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's this invalidation. It's this constant feeling of not being validated. So I am afraid to say, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I just know that what I've been raised with, believing about myself, is not true.
Okay.
I just know that that's not true. So.
Okay. I hear you. So to make sure I understood what you just said correctly, the fear of publicly proclaiming that you are non-binary.
Yeah.
The fear behind that is wrapped up in, because you don't know why you are non-binary, you fear that people are going to discredit your feeling of feeling like you're non-binary.
And you know what? That's true, and people will.
And people will, yes.
And I have been working, especially this past year, on building the immunity.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a perfect word.
To that judgment. And it's been very empowering, actually, because then the more I practice, and I do this on my yoga mat too, the more I practice my four walls around me, not in terms of like putting walls up. I'm talking like my egg of light, my, my safe zone I decide and no one else gets to fucking decide. And it's also been bleeding into my acting a bit more now, and it's bleeding into even just speaking here with you. I can be more present because I'm not like, oh my God, what are the listeners going to say? What are you going to say? So I'm just building that immunity. So then when I will share, I will, which at this point will have done, good and done with, that it will be a freeing experience, not a oppressive experience, because I will be deciding that.
Wow.
And it's not going to be easy. I'm so nervous thinking about it. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm like, so yeah, it's just such a, especially, this is a whole other, we should have a part 2.
We'll have a part 2.
Yeah.
We'll have a part 2.
So, especially because when a man transitions when a man transitions to their rightful gender as female, when a trans person, I want to make sure my language is not harmful here. There's a book called Whipping Girl by Julia Serrano, it's about feminism in the transgender community and viewing trans women. So trans women have something commodable. You know what I'm talking about? There's like an objectification towards women already in our binary society. So when a man steps into their gender as when oh man, See, even I'm like nervous talking about, again, like perfectionism. I apologize if I'm still practicing.
Okay, I'll say it because I have less fear of being. Okay. I have to say, because a part of newness is learning, and a part of learning is making mistakes.
Yeah,
and so
you're right.
I'm okay to make this mistake.
Okay.
So are you saying that a transgender woman, someone who was born a male and they're transitioning into being a woman, they having, because in our binary society we objectify born women. So what are you saying about these transgender women?
So there is, I feel like there can be more of a celebration, because then, unfortunately, the woman is something that can be objectified in a misogynist society.
Wait, say that again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
This is getting a little too deep probably for the end. But, okay, so women are objectified, tend to be objectified. When someone who is assigned male at birth transitions into a woman, then it tends to, I at least see it as being more celebrated, being more like there's more of a
celebration versus when an assigned woman turns into a male.
There's a little bit less of it's more of like of course, because men are better. So of course they want to be. So like whatever. You know what I mean? There's like this internalized so that's what Julia Serrano talks about in her book at one point, which is just so, I was like, whoa.
We're more celebratory of the transgender women than the transgender man.
Exactly. And and I don't see myself as a man. Like, this is what's so confusing. Yeah. Like I just feel like I'm fluid. I'm a Cancer. Like I'm just like water, baby. Yeah. And like I and so much of my identity has been wrapped around my like my attractiveness, my beauty, my sexuality, my even coming out as a bisexual woman. People are like, fuck yeah. Like, whereas like bisexual men are not as celebrated because there's that homophobia. So like there is this, I have a lot of identity that I'm still mourning. Yeah. I'm mourning this commodifiable identity that, and it's good because I'm now looking way deeper into my joy. What am I enjoying? How am I happy? I'm happier when I don't have that label. I see. Just a woman. I see. So there's this. Yeah,
I'm learning right now. This is amazing because I will tell you that I personally, and again, this will be discussed on part 2, hour 15. But I personally have challenges with the labeling of transgender male and female. Listen. Don't everyone do follow your bliss. I'm never, but for me, the labeling of what that is called, I'm having challenges. I want to learn.
Interesting, yeah.
Not saying that I want to not come around the curve. Yeah. Want to, but having trouble. Yeah. And so we could talk about that on our part 2. But I have to, and I had something else that came up to me. Oh, one last little thing. Jesus, Christian. Question. Do you want children?
I haven't even let myself think about what it would be like to be a mother myself. And I am a mother to my dog.
Yeah.
I am her mom.
Okay,
Regardless of my gender.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's that. But that was my question.
Yeah.
If you were to have children, do you? No.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you to your route. But
Yeah.
if you were to have children, would you want them to call you mom, dad, or
No, I
some
mean,
other?
I don't even
Gaga?
know. Who knows?
Okay.
Did you say? What did you say? Was
The last one was like, how people call their grandmas like, that's my Gigi, or that's my,
Yeah.
just some other thing that doesn't have that's gender neutral.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't even because again, like I mean, I am trying to not think too far ahead. Just like, okay, what am I now?
Yeah.
Right now, I am the mother to my partner and I's wonderful pit bull mix named Roxy, and I am her mama. And I am all my plants. I have like 30 plants. I'm their mother.
I get it. You can't listen. I recently became a plant. You can't buy one plant and then stop. You will buy 1, 3, 8, 9, 15, 30.
Yeah. But here's the thing, and again, part two. But something to just kind of wrap that thought up is again, why is the nurturing person the mother?
Yeah.
Again, coming back to gender roles, like why is the nurturer the mother? The more we accept that men can be nurturers, and again it's like what's the need for mother, father? And this is a whole like futuristic alien like earth, where like I mean if you think about it, I tend to think like everything that's like futuristic or like aliens, like there's no gender, there's no like everyone's super non-binary looking.
That's very true.
And I'm
that's
like
very true.
I think that's where we're all evolving into.
That's where we're headed. Hey.
I don't know, maybe in like 400 years.
But maybe longer, maybe more than that.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways, I was gonna say Miss Lisa Ermel, but I'm sorry, but
no, it's
Lisa Ermel, everybody, I have to say, whoa,
Yeah,
this
great.
was I knew it. I knew that I wasn't really fully prepared for what I was about to get myself in.
Yeah.
That was so educational and transformational for me, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
You changed my mind on a number of subjects, and I appreciate you for delving into the psyche of a Karen, given that you are not one, but also admitting that at times you were.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. That's brave. This was a brave conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and thank you for getting stuff out of me.
Yeah.
I hope that we can do this again because you're the only person I've ever gone an hour and 20 minutes with. So, of good stuff.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So, anyways, before I let you go, do you want to plug any of your social media?
Oh,
so people follow you.
Sure. At Lisa _Ermel.
And that's LISA _
ERM as in Mary, EL.
That's funny.
I'm starting this yoga business. I'm trying to think if you can follow my Facebook page. It's like it's Lisa Ermel Yoga or Lisa Ermel Yoga. What else? Twitter. Yeah.
There it is.
Lisa. I'm on Twitter.
What's your Twitter? At Lisa?
Lisa. I think it's Lisa _Ermel as well. And
don't sound like you use that one much.
Not really. Not so much. I'm just trying to think if there's any. No, I would just love to hear from you. If anything if anything of this brought up questions in you, I would love to hear from you because it was other people talking about this shit that got me thinking, oh, maybe I'm allowed to as well. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, channel's always open.
Channel's open. I have to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
And until next time, and of course, if you guys want to follow me, you probably know this by now, but I am at Commercial Christian, COMMERCIAL, Christian spelled like the religion, CHRISTIAN. Thank you very much, and until next time.